Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to SATAL 2020. I'm your host, Moltar, and we are here, Diamond League again. This is highly unusual for us. Usually it's Diamond League every once in a while, Gold League all the time, but we are Diamond League again. Phoenix Task Force, we saw take on and take out 36 last Saturday, is showcasing again today. Phoenix Task Force taking on Eclipse Task Force in what I think is going to be an awesome showdown. So we got a good round coming at you for you guys today. I don't think there's too much news. Pilot X versus the World was a huge success over the weekend. So huge shout outs to Low Blow for taking that on and making that a successful stream. We'll be having more of that in the future. But again, today, Diamond League, Phoenix Task Force taking on Eclipse Task Force. Lots of task forces coming at you right now. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. We are here on the ground. I believe this is Vaziani taking on Kobaletti. Phoenix Task Force taking on Eclipse Task Force. Low Blow, your dog wants to get on the action. I mean, he's like, my dad's making his voice known. I want to make my voice known. But how are you doing this fine morning after this weekend? Pilot X versus the World took place over the weekend. I heard it was a great success. Play School got his little booty kicked, but I think that was... You said it was awesome. It was a lot closer than the standings would have led us all to believe.
Totally, yeah. Apologies for my two little mutts back there. Must have been someone at the door. But anyway, I'm getting... Hang on a second. Get myself twice. There we go. Yeah, Feast, sorry, I was going to say, I'm so distracted. Pilot X was awesome. Play School put up one hell of a fight. He did go down 0-5 against the World team, but... That result betrays how close those fights actually were. So yeah, it was awesome fun over the weekend.
Well, glad it went over really successfully. It's always nice to have new events enter the mix. We're gonna have more BFM stuff coming in the near future. We're gonna have a ladder. There's gonna be a bunch of stuff centered around BFM, because I think the 1v1 sphere in DCS, especially in other eras, deserves some looking at. So I'm really excited to be doing things like World War II, things like Korea, Vietnam, and to do these special era showcases where it's not just Gen 4. So I'm really excited. I'm really happy to have you, one of the centerpieces in BFM and DCS, to be able to help spur that along and get the community engaged in all of that. You and Guido, I should shout out, Guido was a real-life Eagle driver, if I remember correctly.
A-Firm, yeah, Guido and his partner Slick, both their 15 drivers, and they've been pitching in massively with the clinic. Guido co-commentated Pilot X with me over the weekend. It was really good to have him there, not just to commentate and talk us through what he was seeing, but also, man, those two guys actually threw down in the comp against Play School. And what we did was we recorded their comms and played it back in the stream, and to hear two F-15 drivers actually communicating the way they would in real life,
right?
In a 2v1 engagement was just awesome. Like, it was really good.
Well, hopefully the U.S. government doesn't listen to it and go, nah. You know, the Jurassic Park screensaver. I don't know how familiar you guys are when they're trying to decipher the fat man's password to bring the power back online. He's like, please say the magic word, That's just what I picture the U.S. government talking to people that come in these sims that are showing a little bit too much skin or classified information. But let's take that moment, and we need to talk about who is flying what, because I haven't done a very good job of showcasing that for all of you as the viewers. So let's talk about Eclipse Task Force first. They are the newcomers in this one. We saw Phoenix Task Force last week. We will go over them and see what they are going to be flying. But we are represented, Eclipse Task Force is being represented by Kingston and Alpha Whiskey in F-14s. And then the second two-ship is Riker and Breeze in JF-17s. And then the third two-ship is Aspen and Jonas in F-18s. So interesting. 2 14s, 2 17s, and 2 18s. Very symmetrical. If we go over to the Phoenix Task Force side, they are a little more of a hot job of different aircraft. In here, we've got Black Arrow. It was Bollock Arrow on Saturday, if you remember. I guess it was actually Black Arrow. It was just a typo. In an F-15. Alley in a 16. Toxin in a 16. Sheik in a 14, Falcon in a 16, and Predator in a 16. So many more Vipers on the Phoenix Task Force side, a single Eagle, and a single Tomcat. Now, seeing what you've seen so far, Low Blow, in these past rounds, and I think you looked up and where these guys are actually positioned in the league table, how do you think this match is going to go? I think the Eclipse Task Force, based on them having 2 14s and the 2 17s with the SD-10s and the performance we've seen from the SD-10s in the past at high altitude, they've got a bit more reach than Phoenix Task Force coming into this, especially during the first pass. So given what you've seen in the league tables, how do you think this one's going to go?
Well, there's one thing that Eclipse Task Force don't have, and that's Black Arrow. Because, I mean,
true.
Last week, that guy wrecked an entire team by himself. But in all fairness, I think we're in for a bit of a slugfest today. These two teams sitting very close to each other in the table at 3rd and 4th positions in their division. Provided Black Arrow doesn't go on a frolic of his own again, a bit of a slugfest, I'm expecting.
I do need to answer Diagnosis D. There are no AWACS. So this is an AWACS-free environment, ladies and gentlemen. No nuisance of AI-provided situational awareness. This is all pilot on pilot contacts. No AWACS-provided handicaps here. If the pilots don't see them, nobody sees them, and they can fly in unimpeded. So I don't think we had AWACS in the last round. I guess Phoenix Task Force, they're the home team, so they were in the driver's seat this round at least. So maybe they just don't want AWACS. It's interesting. They've got a lot more Vipers, so they've got the PPLI advantage here. The F-14 isn't able to participate in that. The F-15 obviously isn't. And the JF-17 and the 14 I don't think can contribute to Link 16. Right? Maybe the JF-17 can in the sim.
Yeah, I was about to ask you that, but
I would
have thought no, right? Because it's kind of like an Eastern jet, so to speak. It's Chinese Pakistani jet, isn't it? So you'd think that it wouldn't really be able to integrate with a Hornet.
Yeah, I wouldn't think so. An Eclipse Task Force in chat says having 2 of each without AWACS was not the greatest move. Well, sometimes you just got to make do with what you got. So let's jump over. Again, this is Kobaletti against Vaziani. Distance here, your guess, Low Blow, was actually better than mine at the distance. It's actually about 150 miles separating these two airfields. So ingress for each team is going to be about 75 miles. We got the first missile coming off of Sheik's aircraft. It's an AIM-54 Mark 60. So we are in the A weapon restriction. At least we hope we are, or this is going to be the shortest matchup known to man, because that would be a banned weapon if it was in the B weapon restriction. But it is the A weapon restriction, we think, coming in here. Kobaletti against Vaziani. And lots more long-range weapons on the Eclipse Task Force side. I'm really anxious to see if that poses any type of determining factor in how this match ends up taking place. So distance these missiles were fired from was inside 50 miles. That Mark 60 that we're going to ride along with is no longer supported. So it may be going up into the stratosphere. It may be being like, I want to be a satellite daddy, and going up and not coming back down. But now that I say that, it looks like it's edging over. There's the aneurysm. Bleeds a ton of speed. I'm trying to think of what that looks like when it does that. Passing another Phoenix, the Eclipse Task Force Phoenix, waving as they pass by. So I guess this missile wasn't supported.
Just over a 50-mile shot there from the Eclipse 14.
This missile was no longer supported, but this is shout-outs to Magic INS making its way in here. And it's sorting on Breeze. No, Alpha Whiskey in the F-14. And it's descending. I don't think this is going to be a problem. Yeah, that thing's trashed. Coming down through 900 knots. It's not going to do anything. So let's take a look at the other Mark 60 that was launched from Eclipse Task Force from Alpha Whiskey and see how it fares in this promenade of long-range shots. I'm going to give you guys a split screen so you guys can see what's going on. Here it is coming in on Chic. It is at 1,600 knots, so has significantly more speed as it closes in on Chic, but it's doing the wiggle waggle, the Phoenix waggle, the Phoenix wave, and it's lost track as Chic comes through the vertical notch, and this missile is no longer able to stay with him. Telephone pole-sized missile with big fins, and it's just not able to do anything. Sorry, Lobo, go ahead.
No, that's right. You've already got the 217s on Eclipse Task Force down in the weeds there to the south. So do you think they're just preparing to notch against the 14, or are they trying to be sneaky? What do you think's going on with that?
Without AWACS, they may be trying to be sneaky. Let's take a look and see where they're flying. Maybe they're just in a saunter. They're at 82% engine RPM, just cruising. Maybe they recognize that they haven't been seen by anybody on their RWR, so they think that nobody's painting them. They could just be cruising, maybe trying to get the end around over here. So let's get the split screen view going so you guys can see where these guys are. So we're riding along with Breeze, who is right here with Riker in the JF-17s. And they are lower, but Low-Blow, looking at the map, the F-10 view, Toxin and Ali are looking right at them. I can't imagine that they're not spotted at this point. I mean, they've got to be painted. That would be my inclination.
And
I don't know why they're this low.
You've got that monster back there, Black Arrow, as well, lurking behind a little bit. So
was that a one-time monster, though? Are we going to see him show up and make this a repeatable event? I don't know.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't know.
So down to 28 miles in the south there, and Breeze is out cold at the moment. Riker turning out cold as well. Looks like they're just trying to drag Toxin and Ali back towards the rest of the force.
So we do have Alpha Whiskey getting ready to fly formation with this 120 that was launched from one of these trailing F-18s. And ladies and gentlemen, this is a perfect example of why you should just wait. Just wait. No reason to launch this. And Black Spark, that's actually a JF-17 Thunder, not an F-16. Okay? Okay.
And I've just realized that Alpha Whiskey is on Eclipse Task Force. Look at him.
It's just about putting those things together, having that brain moment that just everything clicks. Mark 60 now coming out from Alpha Whiskey onto the two-ship of Toxin and Ali. Let's grab it and ride along with it. I'm going to give you guys another split screen so we can see this thing coming in. And meanwhile, Ali, I think it was, launched that 120 out onto Breeze. And that was launched from 15 miles. Don't see that doing anything. But this Mark 60 is not going to do anything because it's not tracking and it was not supported. It's just going to fly right by and wave at everybody as it goes by. Unless it's on Black Arrow, which it's not either. I got excited, and it's just out for its morning cruise, stretching its legs, trying to stay in shape, just trying to do its thing. And this is another example of support the missile, guys. Support your local missile. If you don't support your local missile, it's not going to do as well. It can't do it. It's on its own. Your vote and your support matters. We won't get any more political than that. I'll just leave it there.
I think Phoenix. They've sent out more missiles. Is my gut feeling? We've just seen 4 slammers just now from them.
Many more. Will that impact them if this match goes long? I don't know. We'll have to see how long this match goes. Are they going to have? weapon problems? Are they going to need pills to get it up later in the show? I don't know. I mean, if you don't have the pill and you don't have anything that'll get it up, then you're crap out of luck. So you just gotta make do with what you got, and if you don't got it, then you can't do it. Can't do it. So nothing is happening right now. Nobody's really wanting to commit. But as I say that, Low Blow, I gotta point out Black Arrow. He's coming in here.
I'm seeing it.
He's not very fast though.
Yeah.
Not very fast. So
look at that. If I was those 4 guys, I'd be running the other way.
Yeah, but they can't tell who he is. So they just see an F-15. I guess he is the only F-15, so maybe they could tell who he is on the RWR. But he is ingressing against Alpha Whiskey. We can see Alpha Whiskey down there, the blue marker, 9 miles away. Or sorry, red marker, 9 miles away. There goes a 120 on to Alpha Whiskey. We're going to jump to Alpha Whiskey's point of view here in split view. Not that one. In this one,
that's
can we
the
see
7-mile
that
slammer,
missile? Dude. Where is it? Where is it? I'm not going to see it. There it is. And it's 1 mile away. It's Alpha Whiskey's toast. And he gets pulverized by that 120. Black Arrow. Is this the rampage?
Black Arrow
has it
doesn't
begun?
even turn cold, man. This is what we saw last week, you know. The rest of Phoenix hanging back, and they just throw him out there and let the hell, you know, unleash, so to speak. 6 miles from Riker now.
There goes another 120, and he's lagging a little bit. I don't see... Oh, SD-10 coming in on Black Arrow. I think that this is Black Arrow got in too deep. He tried too far. No, he didn't. Yes, he did. So he lagged a little bit, but the missile didn't care about that lag, and he got taken out. So Alpha Whiskey went down to Black Arrow, but then Black Arrow extended a bit too far, tried to recreate what happened last week, and wasn't able to make the magic happen.
Yeah. Now you got a couple of slammers coming out of Falcon and Predator, sorted on Aspen and Jonas there at about 15 miles to the north.
So these missiles are launched from 15 miles. They're okay. They're okay. What's the altitude here? So Predator's at 23,000, Falcon 20,000, Sheik at 9,000. I'm not a big fan of Sheik's altitude, especially with the Phoenix. Immediately unsupports that Phoenix that's now going on to Kingston. Kingston's at 9,000, Breeze is at 7, and Riker is at 9. But that Phoenix, let's take a look.
Yeah.
Now Phoenix is going to go into the ground. Here it comes, and pop. Ninja Squirrels get another one for the North Korean colleagues. They're in the trees just waiting for everything. Did somebody die? No, Jonas is up here on his own. So we are down to a 6.
It's a 5v5 right now, I think. Yeah, because we've lost Alpha Whiskey and Black Arrow.
You're right. You're absolutely right. That is true.
But again, you know, we're seeing this from Phoenix. They're happy to send one guy out by himself here. Ali now closing to within 11 miles of Breeze head-on, and he's got Riker there supporting Breeze. So
I think Breeze is in, or Ali's in trouble. The SD-10 is going to outperform the 120, especially because Ali is a bit higher, and you can see that SD-10 coming in. Here it comes, 2 miles away, and that thing is cooking. 1 mile, Ali, you're not going to out-energy the SD-10, and he pays for it, makes the wrong decision there. Instead of notching, he tries to out-energy the baby telephone pole, and that is not something that you want to see happen.
Well, I'd be interested to hear from any Phoenix Task Force guys in chat there. What's the logic with sending one guy out at a time? Do you guys? I mean, we did see that worked extremely well with Black Arrow on one occasion last week, but is that a standard Phoenix Task Force play there?
Yeah, I don't know. It seems like they are committing one at a time. They did that last week, so I'm not entirely sure. Sheik now puts a AIM 54 onto Jonas, and Jonas is sitting at 12,000 feet. And that was launched from 10 miles. 10 mile
Phoenix.
That's got some pepper. That's got some get up and go. And Jonas is trying to get away from it. Can we see it? Where is it? Where is it? There it is. So he's trying. He's trying, but he's not slowing down. And this thing's going to come right over the hill and plow into his cockpit. And Jonas isn't going to know what hit him. There it is. And Jonas is the next casualty coming in here. And that was, he committed to the notch, but didn't trust the notch and slowing down. He tried to keep the energy up, and it didn't work out for him.
Also, what was really good to see then, we saw this last week as well from Toxin, is he was firing on the guy who was supporting that Hornet, Aspen. So he's again deterred the trailer from committing to the fight. So Toxin is a smart guy, I think.
Yep.
Smart pilot.
We did see him do that on Saturday, and I like the decision making where he's not necessarily worried about making the kill, but he's making an impact on the match, furthering his team's position. So I really like that. I like that shot of the Phoenix coming right over the hill and taking out Jonas, or no, sorry, Jonas. Jonas there coming right over the hill, and the big thing there was he just didn't slow down. He tried to stay fast. Schmitty, you want to be as slow as possible. The slower you are, the bigger the notch gap is. Now Toxin's got an SD10 coming on him, so let's flip over and watch him. Flares and Chaff are coming out. He's trying to get away from that. I think he's going to be okay. I don't see... Yeah, he's going to be fine. That missile's far enough away that's not going to pose any type of threat. 120C now chasing Breeze, and that's going to fly into the ground. He got line of sighted a bit there. Didn't have the energy to stay up with him.
Yeah, that's a pretty, what's that, 20-mile Phoenix there? Yeah, about a 20-mile Phoenix on Toxin from Kingston right now.
Is that on Toxin?
Looks like it. Looks like it to me, yeah. But Kingston's down in the weeds, 4,000 feet. So is Toxin.
It could be on Falcon. I think it's on Falcon. Yeah, I think this is on Falcon. So let me give you guys a view. So there's Breeze. Toxin is... I don't know that this is actually tracking anybody. No, I think it's on Falcon. It's tracking Falcon. Okay. So Falcon's out here about 10 miles. That was a low-to-low Phoenix shot that we're riding along with. Falcon's the one out here 7 miles away, but the one that we actually need to be paying attention to is Sheik in his F-14 as he ingresses. I'll give you guys this view. Actually, let's go to split view so we don't miss any of these. Sheik's on the left. The missile coming in on Falcon is on the right, but Sheik has a missile coming at him head on. Yep. And I can't tell. Let's dish the missile on the right. Aim 7, guys, Aim 7 does not compete with an SD-10, and Sheik, you need to do something. Head on, SD-10. Melted. Yeah, demolished. SD-10, big warhead, hit Sheik right in the face. And that's akin to getting hit with a railroad spike right in the forehead.
And that's a 9-mile slammer from Toxin on Kingston there now. Kingston out defensive.
I think that
I don't know if he's defending hard enough here.
As long as he breaks away. Well, maybe not. So let's grab him.
No, I went and screwed him something.
Did he go into the ground?
Yeah.
So let's get the... Toxin's now merged. Kingston, you should see him. Kingston, where are you going? And 120 shot coming from close onto Breeze. Breeze, I don't know that he's going to get away from this. I don't think he has the energy to get away from that. And it takes him out, but we need to flip back over and look at Toxin, who is engaged, or Kingston, who's engaged with Toxin. Aim 9s, Aim 54s, all over the place, and Toxin, I think, is going to eat that.
Hell, dude.
That Aim 54. No, he got away from it. I think he was just able to out-G that Aim 54, and we ride along with Toxin, and he takes one from the rear. I don't know who that was on. We're down to a 2v2.
But Kingston has eaten a 120C from Falcon from the south. So Kingston's out.
Yeah. So let me give you guys a radar view. SD-10 now coming from Riker onto Falcon. So
now we're down to a 2v2 here.
So here is Falcon. He's got the SD-10 coming on him right there. It's going to take him out, and Falcon gets hit. And are we down to a 1v1? 2v1. Aspen,
2v1, yeah.
Aspen, Toxin, and Riker are the 3 remaining. And, man, once the juices got going in this match, they really got going. Toxin, the only one remaining for Phoenix Task Force. He's low. Toxin, please stop dumping flares. You're going to give away your position here, brother. Okay, he gave him out. He stopped dumping or he ran out of flares. But let's go to the split screen view so you guys can see what's going on. He's now ECM lag defense between him and Aspen. There's the 120. Where's the 120? There it is. And Toxin gets taken down. Not much he could do in that 2v1 situation. But flares aren't going to do much in that situation either. No. What was the downfall there, Loblo? What happened?
I think the guys up north on Phoenix just bit off more than they could chew. You know, those SD-10s once they got to within 10 miles are pretty dangerous, and they kind of got sandwiched then because we saw the situation where Kingston got taken out by. Hang on a second. Let me just see this. I'm winding back on the Tack view as we speak. So you had a 4v4 up in the north there, and I'm just rolling back through this now. Give me a second to look at this. Bad timing for Phoenix, I think.
I think the biggest thing there for Phoenix Task Force was, you hit it on the nose early, was they like to commit into these fights one at a time. It seemed like, especially early in that match, and I don't think that did them any favors coming into the late game. Well, they just got picked off.
Yeah, but then in that situation that unfolded up north, which initially began as a 4v4, you know, ETF just had their noses pointed down range at the right time, and they were sending the heat down range at the right time, you know, and Phoenix were just not in a situation, but they were just defensive. You know, they weren't in a situation where they were slinging back 1-for-1, and they just basically got melted to the point where, you know, it ended up as that 2v1 that we saw against at the Toxin. But yeah,
the Phoenix's SD10 seem to do fairly well. The long-range weapons advantage that Eclipse Task Force seemed to have paid off for them, especially the SD10. I mean, we said the SD10 capitalized on several engagements there, where people got in close, and maybe they just weren't anticipating the increased power from medium altitude that the SD10 was providing over the AMRAAM.
Totally. Yeah, that SD10 looked really dangerous, and as you say, those AMRAAM shots, it just seems like the SD10 gets off the rail and accelerates a lot faster. You know, and it obviously doesn't have any problems tracking, pretty maneuverable. But harking back to last week, you know, with these Phoenix shots, I am going to push Billy for the T-shirt that says you can't BFM a Mark 60.
Well, I don't know about that, because the one guy, I think that was trying to dodge Sheik or somebody, just the missile wasn't able to turn with him. And there was actually a showcase that I had a couple days ago flying by myself where the Mark 60 was still under power, and it doesn't have the energy coming off the rails fast enough. It's not a fast enough accelerating missile to be able to turn with the jet when it gets in close, if it's launched close enough, if you will. If it's fast and it's already pushing Mach 3, Mach 4, yeah, it's going to be fine. But I think when you get in close against the Tomcat, the Phoenix doesn't have the energy when it's launched in close to be able to turn with people, because it's accelerating and expending the energy as fast as it can make it, because it accelerates so slow. At least that's my opinion. I don't know how accurate that is, but that's what I've come to guess.
Well, I mean, I found it funny because it was that situation where I can't remember who exactly it was on Phoenix. Remember, he won the ACM fight against, was it 2 other jets?
And then took a Phoenix to the face.
And he just gets melted by that Mark 60.
Yeah, I don't remember who that was, but Tomcat's just like, I'm here now, boys, and just slings one and pounds the remaining 36 competitor right in the head. And that was unfortunate, but Eclipse Task Force took that one pretty. It was decently convincing. I think it was more convincing than the 2 remaining pilots could let it on to be. So I think it was more of a lopsided round victory for Eclipse Task Force than it showcases with having only 2 pilots remaining.
Yeah, I think unless Black Arrow can do work like he did last week, this mentality of sending guys in one at a time may not work out so well for Phoenix today. So I'd be keen to see in the following round if they employ the same tactic.
Yeah. And guys, after these guys land, we are going to go back to the Supercut, and then we are going to come right back. I got some fast forwarding to do for the next round, but we are going to come right back and get the next round ready to go. We're not going to wait for anybody to take off. I'm going to fast forward a little bit of the intro, the ingress, so we can get right back into the action. Again, Tack views will be taking place at the end of the broadcast. We're not going to do the Tack views in between rounds. We're going to do them at the end of the broadcast because I think it just makes for a better workflow. So that is the end of this round. Eclipse Task Force takes round 1, 1-0. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. We are sitting here on the ground waiting for these guys to taxi and finish up. We are at plus 50 on the fast forward train here, so things should be progressing, getting ready to go here rather quickly. People may be like, Moltar, you're going to break the track. Well, in the server tracks train of thought, they don't really break, even when you go 50 times forward. Like, I'm fast forwarding two things at the same time. At 50 times, I just hit pause, and they both pause at the exact same time. So there's no lag, there's no anything. The game's having an easy time doing all of the actions that are needed. We'll jump in here and make sure that everything looks the same. But Low Blow just went and got something to drink. Low Blow, what are your predictions? Then I'll give you my predictions afterwards. Coming in here for round 2. Who do you think is going to come out on top? What do you think Phoenix Task Force is going to do after that early loss?
Having seen how Phoenix fly in past rounds, they're not afraid to be down. The psychology doesn't really dawn on them. They just, if anything, they just get angrier and they just throw down. So, I think this is going to be an absolute slugfest, to be honest. But whether ETF, on the other side of the coin, become complacent after that, rather convincing win there in the first round is yet to be seen. But my personal prediction, slugfest, 1-for-1.
Who do you think is going to come out on top, though?
Phoenix.
You think Phoenix is going to come back?
I think they're going to come up to the plate. Absolutely.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay. All right. I got to go with you on that one. I think seeing what we saw from Phoenix Task Force last week on Saturday, I think they've got it in them in this one. I think they're going to come back here, and I think they're going to learn from their mistakes. I hope we don't see them commit one at a time again, but I think they're gonna show us what got them the win here last week. So I'm looking forward to it. Who do you think is going to be the player to watch? Do you think Black Arrow is going to have a round?
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, I don't think it was accidental that he just managed to kill 5 jets by himself last week. That was pretty convincing. He took that 15, he played to its strengths with vertical scan there and just melted everyone. So, but again, we did just see him get killed when he tried a similar tactic in last round against the 4 guys in the south. There, he tried to go in and just caught that SD10 to the forehead, as you put it. But on a side note, I am happy to see that the Jeff is a viable BVR platform. Have you got anything on that?
The Jeff is definitely viable. It has probably the best radar showcase, not usable radar, but best showcase radar with situational awareness out of all the jets. The other thing I'd like to point out is right now I'm pretty sure the Jeff is unnotchable. Like not the SD10, but the Jeff's radar, the Jet's radar is unnotchable, if I remember correctly. Like you can't notch it. So it's definitely viable. It's definitely a force to be reckoned with. The SD10 doesn't do so hot down low in comparison to what it can do up high, but all of its missiles are really good. It's a better BVR fighter than what people give it credit for. It does kind of struggle because it has smoked missiles. They're not smokeless, but I think it does fairly well. It does fairly well.
Yeah. And over the weekend, I took a MiG-29 up against it in BFM against Kingsley, who's in chat. And it's hard to fight in BFM, even in the MiG-29. Now, that might be the fact that I'm just coming to terms with the MiG-29. I've never really BFM'd
No,
it
Low
before.
Blow, I think it's more because you suck.
Well, that could be it as well. Yep.
Yep. Low Blow is a terrible BFM pilot. Don't let anybody tell you otherwise. He's awful. Okay,
well, that's why there's a post on the banner on DCS World Events. It says BFM God Low Blow joins DCS World Events.
Yeah, but you posted that yourself.
I did not. I did not post that. Someone
it was me, and I accidentally triggered him as the user. I accidentally triggered him as the user. But sometimes you got to inflate somebody's ego and then bring him back down to earth.
But that post needs to come off. That's embarrassing.
I need to change that it's from you. That's what I need. I need to put it from me. Maybe not God. I don't know. I wrote that in a moment of weakness, Low Blow. Just leave me alone, okay? Maybe that's telling about how I feel about you. And if you were here, maybe it would be more of a come on. And it doesn't work because you're across the pond, okay? Just leave it alone. Just let it be. Just let it be. back to the match. So I think Phoenix Task Force is going to level the playing field here at 1 apiece. That's my prediction. I'm hoping they don't come in one at a time against Eclipse Task Force like they did in last round. Yeah, big time. Low Blow's ego isn't that big that he's going to post that himself. I mean,
holy crap, man. When I saw it, I actually messaged Moltar and I said, okay, how did that happen?
I don't know how it happened. I don't know how it happened.
I'm not okay with me calling me.
I don't know how that happened. I was doing stuff on the website, trying to post things for content, and it just it didn't work. There's not even an article associated with it yet. I'm trying to make it look pretty, damn it. Just deal with it. Just deal with it. Listen to the birds, okay? Just listen to the birds. We all need to listen to the birds in the morning. Whatever. Back to this. Okay, so 4 F-16s for Phoenix Task Force. They've got the energy advantage, in my opinion. But Eclipse Task Force has the range advantage because they have 3 more aircraft that can carry the long sticks. They've got 2 F-14s and 2 JF-17s, while Phoenix Task Force only has the 1 F-14. Now,
right,
on
now
the flip side,
about the PPLI advantage from the Vipers, and Phoenix coming in with 4 Vipers here. I mean, if they can put those Vipers to good work early on and really scatter the ETF team with some high fast shots, I mean, but you know what? I say that every week, don't I? And we never really see anyone get high and fast in the Viper.
Because they're afraid. I don't know. I don't really know why. Well, I do know why. I'm pretty sure it's because they've got Phoenixes on the other side, and they don't want to get caught, in a public restroom with your pants down getting slapped by the guy behind you. It's just you don't want to be in that position. You just don't.
Yeah,
I don't know that from experience.
70-mile Phoenix coming out of ETF there.
I think we ride along with it. Let's grab it. Oh, ED, I got to give you kudos. Now when I click on a missile and I hit the F6 button, it goes to that missile. I don't have to cycle through stuff. It's awesome. Thank you. I love you. I don't know when you changed that, but I've been thinking about that for the past couple weeks, that when I hit F6 now, I go to that missile, and it's glorious. It's so nice. So nice. Instead of having to go through the multitude of different missiles that are on the screen, some being in the ground for God knows what reason, but it's nice when I click on one and hit F6, it goes to the right one. So we're riding along with the Phoenix that was launched from Eclipse Task Force's Alpha Whiskey. I think it could have been from Kingston. There's a second Phoenix in behind it. 120 launched. God, no. 60-mile 120? Just don't. Just don't.
Yeah.
Don't even bother.
You got Black Arrow at the moment, cold at Mark 1.2. I'm wondering what's up with that.
That could have been... Well, he may have seen the Phoenix launch contrails. That may have been it. They may have been called out, and he's just turning around. But I'm not entirely sure. I don't know what's going on with that. But I don't fault his move. The early decision to turn away if you see the Phoenix coming in, perfectly acceptable.
Yeah.
Don't even bother letting those missiles get close. Just go off target. If the Magic INS works, they're not going to track you. Or if they do track you, they're going to be expending more energy trying to stay with you through the turn. And I think it's a smart move, regardless of the situation.
Joseph points out in chat there, fuel is a consideration with this 200-mile distance between these air bases. And, I was more pointing out the fact that he was at Mark 1.2 cold more than anything.
Yeah, so. If you're high, it's not a huge problem, especially when you've got the 3 drop tanks there early. You do want to burn through some fuel as you get the closer and closer situations with your opponents. You don't want to be stuck up high. But fuel is definitely a consideration like you pointed out. But like I just said, you don't want to be going into the meat of the engagement with tons of fuel because you're going to be heavy.
Yeah.
And you, from your BFM experience, being heavy when you get in close with other aircraft isn't the best place to be.
Not the best, no. So what, if you were Black Arrow there, when would you be punching these 3 bags off in that Eagle?
As soon as they're empty.
Okay.
I mean, I would try. What's the default fuel amount in the internals for the Eagle? What is that?
I want to say 10,000, but I mean, that's going back a long time. Maybe someone can type that in chat for us.
What I would like to do, and let's get this Phoenix as it ingresses against Ali. What I would like to do is punch off your center line right around the time of the first pass, and then after the next couple passes, get rid of your wing tanks. Because that's when the things are really going to start getting closer and closer together, and that's going to put you in a situation where your tanks are gone, you're now on internal fuel, you're going to be getting lighter and lighter and lighter as you the fight gets closer and closer and closer.
Now, what do you think about these long Phoenix shots here? I mean, Alpha Whiskey's slinging a 35-mile Mark 60 downrange there.
You know, they're okay, but Phoenix Task Force is doing a really good job of defending these Phoenix. You know, they're not playing games. They're not even bothering to notch them. They're just turning away and out-energing the missile. And when you do stuff like that, when you're against a team that is going to do that, Alpha Whiskey and Eclipse Task Force needs to recognize that that is how their missiles are being defended, and there is no use putting these long missiles onto their opposition. It's just not. It's a waste of ammunition. There's no reason to do it.
And I say 35 miles as a relative term because we have seen in past rounds in SATAL that the really salty, if that's the way you want to put it, Phoenixes are the ones that are around about sub 20 miles, aren't they?
Yeah. The ones with some mustard, they got the pepper, some peppered mustard, whatever. They're coming in from under 20 miles. Really ideal shooting position is probably 15 miles. And if you can lock them up in STT and keep them illuminated, odds are they're going to die. Because if they don't notch and get really slow, they're not going to defeat the Tomcat's radar, and they are going to get schmammered all over the mountainside. It's just what's going to happen.
Now, can we just check? Breeze and Riker down there in the two Jeffs, are they still carrying full SD-10?
We can check. I haven't seen any SD-10s, so here's Breeze. He's still got a full complement of missiles, no tanks, so he's punched off his tanks. Let's check Riker. I haven't seen, again, any SD-10s here, so there's Riker, and he still has a full complement of missiles. I'd like to point out, too, that they're not flying around in gate. They're just sauntering. They're just cruising. Nothing really going on. The Sakia, this is actually being streamed from a track. So this match actually took place about a month ago. But you wouldn't know it because the tracks play exactly like the long match. The
I was about to say the fact that he can't tell.
You can't tell
something right.
Exactly. That's why it doesn't matter. Alpha Whiskey now is 120 coming at him from Ali. And that was launched from 16 miles. Alpha Whiskey responds with the MK60, a Mark 60, onto, I think that's on Black Arrow. And that's going to have some get up and go. I think it's on Black Arrow, maybe on Toxin. No, it looks like it's, is it tracking? I don't think this is tracking. It's not tracking. That would have had some potential, but it wasn't supported. Guys, support your local Tomcat. You got to be, not support your local Tomcat, but you got to be the pilot that supports their Phoenix. You got to support your local Phoenix. If you don't do it, this is what happens. You have a perfect shot, you don't support it, and the missile just flies into the ground. Which now, maybe he didn't support it because of this.
We spoke about this when the jets were on the runway, and you said to me, what do you predict's going to happen here? Maybe we should revisit that at this point in time. Phoenix obviously down around at the moment. They want to equalize this. If you were in this position as Phoenix, what would your game plan be?
Fly how they practice. You want to train how you want to perform, and then you want to put your training into the matches. That didn't come out right, but you get what I mean. I really just want them to fly in this match how Phoenix Task Force has been training to do, and I have a feeling that it's being aggressive, and I think we're going to be seeing that from Black Arrow. Black Arrow is now getting in close. We can see him down low coming in against Alpha Whiskey, and Alpha Whiskey is diving against a low shot 120. This is not something you want to do. When you're getting shot at from low and you are above it, you are just easing the closure for the missile, and that missile is going to reach out, close, and touch Alpha Whiskey in the no-no place, and Alpha Whiskey gets popped, and he is the first casualty for Phoenix Task Force, and Black Arrow, as is tradition with him, doesn't turn around. He just carries on and blows through Alpha Whiskey. He does turn around now. I think he recognizes that, hey, I'm a little bit isolated here. I need to regroup with Ali and Toxin.
But Alpha Whiskey's not upset about that. He's just going to go work on the next SATAL supercut. He's like, yeah, fine, whatever.
Yeah, Wild Claw, that's exactly what it means. AB-32, put it on the nose. When you launch a missile, it's really important that you support it the whole way so that the missile is getting guidance updates from the aircraft, Because if it's too far away as an active missile, if it's too far away, and we need to look at Black Arrow. Oh, no.
Yeah, man. That's a blue on blue there.
I think he's going to outrun it. I think he's going to outrun it. Yeah, he's going to out energy.
Wow.
Maybe. Yeah, he gets away from that. He's okay. He's okay. A little worried there.
Toxin. Okay, Toxin, what happened? Let's chat about it.
Oh, that could have just been maybe he thought the guy was still an enemy, and I don't know what happened there. I don't know. Maybe it didn't show. They don't have AWACS, so he could have just been an unknown contact, possibly, if he wasn't on the PPLI distribution. That's definitely a possibility. But back to the missile support. You want to support your missile as long as possible. The aircraft's radar is better than the radar that's actually in the missiles, so you're going to have a better time supporting the missile all the way to impact than relying on the missile seeker head even after it goes active. So you want to support it as long as possible, and if you can only support it until it goes active, you want to do that too. And
how about Kingston here defending two slammers from different directions, one from Falcon from the south and one from Toxin on the west.
Good call out there. That spells trouble for him. He has missiles coming from 3 different directions. Where are they? And I don't think any of them are going to catch him.
Yeah.
Oh, that one might. Nope. Oh, it did. This one came out of nowhere and poked him. So Kingston gets taken down. And that was just a case of, well, don't eject into the ground, ladies and gentlemen. Don't do that. Your chute has no time to open, and you just become part of the tree. You know.
He literally had 3 jets on three cardinals around him. At that point.
We need to pause here just to make sure we don't miss anything, because I think we actually missed Super dying. So Super died for Eclipse Task Force. So it's a 6v3. So Super died at the same time, which we missed. Kingston died, and we're down to a 6v3, so this is low blow. This is a total opposite performance of what we saw in round 1.
Yeah, yep. And I think it's just the ETF guys getting a bit too deep, one at a time, and they're getting netted, basically. They've got the Phoenix Task Force guys just surrounding them and poking them when they get too far in.
Mm-hmm. Now, who are we looking at here? We're riding along with Riker, and he is at 14,000 feet, and I think that guy right off his nose is Black Arrow, and I think this is going to be the next incursion. So we're going to watch it. We're going to watch it here. All right, so we're going to hit play. Here we go. Here's the incursion. Black Arrow against Riker. I don't know that Black Arrow sees him. There goes the SD-10. This is the first SD-10 that I've seen launched, and Black Arrow is going to eat that. Black Arrow gets smashed in the face, but now we've got Breeze with a couple missiles coming in on him. Here they come. They're about a mile behind, a little bit of lag, but I think he's going to out-energy those without too much of a care. Oh, no, he's not. That 120 coming in from the right is going to take him down. Didn't care about the ECM desync issues, and that's another casualty coming for Eclipse Task Force. So Black Arrow goes down for Phoenix, but Breeze is immediately taken out for Eclipse Task Force. So now we're down to a 5v2. And I don't like that Eclipse Task Force's Aspen and Riker are so far separated. This puts them in a really poor position for mutual support. Now Mark 60 coming from, who is that? That is launched on a friendly. Guys, check your launches. Is this going to hit a friendly? Fratricide incoming, I think, ladies and gentlemen. What is that missile doing? It is corkscrewing. Oh. Toxin kind of...
Oh, man. That was close.
That was really close. That was borderline exploit there, though. That almost hit him. But Fratricide, like I may let that defense. Go. That was like Matrix defense, but that was kind of lame. That was he did the corkscrew. That was borderline exploit there. I don't think it would have mattered in this match, especially because it was Fratricide. Maybe that's why they did it. So SC-10 now being launched by Riker onto Falcon. I don't think that's going to connect.
Yeah, 10
and sorry, guys, we were still riding along with that Mark 60. but we switched over. Now we're riding along with Falcon. There's the SD-10, 1.5 miles away. It's doing a decent job at energy retention, but it just, I don't think it's going to have enough. But every time I've said this so far, where I didn't think the missile was going to have enough to reach out and touch somebody, it did, and the person died. But I think finally, when I say it doesn't have enough energy, it finally doesn't, and it's now falling further and further behind him.
Now, Phoenix are a bit of a lemming train as they head to the north.
Yeah,
to,
Predator's pretty isolated here, coming in against Riker. So let's grab him. There is...
Yeah, Predator... I don't like his position here. He may be okay here, but Riker is, he's completely offensive on Predator right now. Yeah, sure, he's being dragged back into 3 Phoenix guys to the south, but okay, so he's decommitting there. Yeah.
There goes an SD-10 launched from Riker, and the missile that went for Predator just didn't track. So SD-10 launched onto Toxin. Let's give you guys a split screen so you guys can see. 120 now coming on Aspen. Aspen needs to do something against this 120. Still got 1,400 knots. 120 now launched onto Riker. Let's jump over here to the full map view so you guys can have a better look at what's going on. Both those missiles were line of sighted, so neither of those are going to be a continuing factor. And both now Riker and Aspen are full cold. Aspen may be recommitting, but this puts Phoenix Task Force in the driver's seat, but they've got to commit. If they don't commit, they can't make anything happen.
Good play by Predator out to the north there as well. Flanking or bracketing, however you want to put it, on Riker, so that if Riker does decide to go defensive to the north, he is going to run straight into Predator, but he's actually turning to the south right now.
We've now got a high to low shot coming from Aspen onto Ali. Ali's now getting that missile warning. Let's go to split screen so you guys can see it. Ali, don't dive against a low missile. There it comes. 1 mile away, half mile away. Is it going to catch him? I think it catches him. What? That barely missed him. He just he out-energied it, and the missile couldn't pull with him. Ali did a really good job of defending that missile, and now Riker's got a missile coming and chasing him. And that one that's going to reach out and touch him, and that slams into his aircraft. So Ali gets away with one for not having a proximity fuse, but does a really good job of out-energizing that missile. So now we're down to a 1v4.
Yep. No, isn't it a 1v5?
Is it a 1v5? 1v4. 1v5. I was wrong. So now it's Aspen all by himself. He is alone in this wilderness of so many Phoenix Task Force jets. And then who got taken down there?
Well, that was
Toxin
a
got taken down. Yeah, it was. Toxin got taken down. So we saw that on the map, but now Aspen's got a 120 coming in from high to low, and I don't think he gets away from this. He's not committing to get slow enough, and he gets hit, but doesn't die. And this is something that I've seen low blow a lot. Well, not a lot, but I've seen it happen quite a bit, where if your aircraft is banked and the missile hits the top of the aircraft, it doesn't actually cause any damage. So, ED, if you're listening to this, please look into that. I don't know what causes it. I don't think it's desync, because it's happened to me too, where I'll be in a bank turn and I get hit by a missile and I don't take any damage. So it only happens when you're in a bank turn, though. So I don't know why that happens.
Yeah. What are your thoughts on proximity fuses for slammers?
I wish they were a thing, but they're not.
Yeah.
Supposedly they're in the game, but they're just not modeled. Aim 9, 10-mile aim 9 shot going in against Predator. That's getting a little greedy. And Predator responds with a high to low 120, and I think Predator was cooking. Predator was fast, because that slammer has got some juice, and it's going to reach out and hit him. And Aspen gets smashed, and he's the last combatant for Eclipse Task Force. So just like you thought, low blow, Phoenix Task Force is able to equalize here, and we're now tied 1 apiece as long as they're able to RTB. Which I don't think is going to be a problem.
You know those documentaries where the school of fish are surrounded by predators? That's what that looked like to me. ETF just kind of fed in and were surrounded, especially that time when we saw 3 slammers go into the one guy. Was it Falcon back then?
That was a perfect... There was no way he was getting away from that. Any way he defended, he was defending into a missile. I mean, if he would have gone backwards, but he was so low, I don't think he could turn around. I don't think he would have made it. So these guys are now RTB. I'm going to turn down the volumes here a little bit as we're going to pick up the speed here as these guys RTB. This is a good opportunity to get caught up on what is going on with Falcon. Okay, I don't know what was going on there. On raids, subs, and all that stuff. So Smitchin came in with the party of 4. Thank you very much. Welcome to all of you. Gordo gifts a sub to Dave and to Joint Task Force Francis Marco. Welcome back to the family, guys. Gordo also gifted a sub to Yambo. Roundabout gifted one to Brad Fritton. Gordo gifted another one to Roundabout. So Roundabout got a gifted sub and then continued on the sharing the love. Monk gave out 200 bits. Thank you. Gordo gifted one to Soladino, one to Jazz Lizard, Aviation Docs. Welcome, everybody. Diagnosis D back for 3rd months with the Prime sub. Gordo gave out a community sub. I don't know who that was. Aegis Captain rated with a party of 14. That was about an hour ago. But guys, if you're still with me, welcome. Aegis Captain, thank you for the raid. And then Gordo gifted another sub to Eclipse Task Force. So thank you guys all for your support. All of this just goes back to making the stream better. And really the focus right now is the website and other events and just stuff is what it amounts to. I didn't notice this skin from Sheik. I really like this. This is cool. Look at that. Green and orange. That's just different. It's not overbearing, you know, just cool. I like that.
It's got some Middle Eastern flavor.
Well, I think both Phoenix Task Force and Eclipse Task Force are from the Middle East. I think a lot of their players are.
Yeah,
I think.
But anyway, could fill you in on Pilot X. You know, it really went off well. We had a very strong team on the world team, and you know, we were talking about it with Guido and Slick afterwards, and from a real world perspective, they said, you know, the best you can do is for Pilot X to put up a good fight. Not necessarily win, because the chances of them winning, even with the Fox 2s, is pretty unlikely. Mm-hmm. But man, Play School threw down hard. You know, they were really tough fights, and it was great. You know, getting in there with the pilot comms and the debrief actually added a lot. And see, the BFM ACM clinic at the moment is much more BFM than it is ACM, mm-hmm. and forcing guys into these situations where they have to improve their comms and, you know, take away from the real world guys and just basically condense everything down, you know, get all those comms really concise and punchy,
right,
is something that's going to be super cool to see evolve over the next few months. So I'd say in 6 months, the level of comms and the level of ACM being fought is just going to skyrocket.
Right. Yeah, that's what we've seen in SATAL too, where the longer you do something and the longer the participants have something to compete for, the level of competition just greatly increases. Sheik was getting a little slow there. I was worried he was going to catch some of the trees on fire, which you can't do in DCS, but he was really low on top of those trees. TFS81 asked me, and he's right, we are doing, I've mentioned this in the past, but I put this on to TFS81 Banana to give him, because I kept forgetting about it, and I think it needed some loving care and attention to make it happen. We are doing a community livery pack, and the teams, every team in SATAL, and you don't have to be a member of SATAL to be able to do this eventually, but every team in SATAL is allowed to contribute one livery. And that livery pack, one, it allows the stream to have all the liveries. It allows Alpha Whiskey to have the liveries in his supercuts. And it allows, if you use them in multiplayer servers, for you to be able to tell who's who on the ramp. Because obviously most of, if not all of the PvP servers for BVR, they don't allow labels. So it's just, it's something that I want. It's something that I'm looking forward to. Shout outs to TFS81 Banana for putting that on his back and taking the time and care into making that his baby and making that a thing. So if you guys, if your squadron has a livery and you're limited to one livery per jet, send a message to TFS81 Banana. He is on the DCS World Events Discord. Just send him a message on Discord. He will give you the needed information, and you can contribute that. We're doing, even if you guys decide that you want to change liveries in the future, we're releasing a new pack like every 2 to 3 weeks, so you can change your livery. It's not like set in stone. So if you got liveries that you want to showcase, whatever, it will be updated periodically. But the livery pack has the potential to get very large, which is why we're limiting it to one per aircraft per squadron. So if you have liveries for all aircraft, obviously you get 1 livery per aircraft, but only contribute liveries that you guys actually use, because the livery pack, liveries get really big really fast. So looks like everybody's landed for Phoenix Task Force. They took this round pretty demonstratively, more so than I think Eclipse Task Force did in round 1, but Eclipse Task Force's landing with 2 pilots wasn't really indicative of how that round went, so I'd say they're probably on an equal playing field. But they are tied at 1 apiece. We are going to the all-inclusive, all-meaning round 3, tied at 1 apiece. Phoenix Task Force against Eclipse Task Force. Round 3 coming at you in just a minute. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. We are still fast forwarding. I don't think this round requires near as much fast forwarding as the last round did. But Low Blow, what'd you think of that last round? I think it was
convincing.
It was convincing. That was more of what we saw of Phoenix Task Force last week than what we saw in them round 1. Do you think they got their legs back under them? Do you think we're going to see a very similar approach and outcome here in round 3?
Well, I don't want to discount ETF, because ETF did handle the first round really well.
They did.
But, you know, having seen Phoenix play out in previous rounds, you know, I do feel like once, as you put it, their legs are under them, you know, they're going to come into this with a lot of confidence. You know, the fact that they have demonstrated that they can just throw out one guy and he wipes out their entire team, you know, and I don't know, that, yeah, it may have been a one-off, but also it might happen again. But if it does happen again, there's no answer to that, really, is there? I mean,
specifically, you're talking about Black Arrow, who's gotten a lot of love. He hasn't gone on a rampage this match, but he's gotten at least 1 kill in each one of the rounds. And don't underestimate those 1 kills. Those 1 kills could be the difference between totally demoralizing your opposition and you taking and losing the round yourselves. So any kill is hugely impactful for the outcome of a round.
Yep.
And we're now sitting at Vaziani with Phoenix Task Force getting ready to depart. Sorry for cutting you off there, Loblo. Go ahead.
Well, I would be interested to ask the competitors on the ETF team, had they watched the previous SATAL round where Black Arrow had actually thrown down like that and eliminated 5 jets in one go, and was that something that was playing on their mind?
Well, they wouldn't have, because we're about a month behind.
We're about a month. Okay.
I mean, they could have watched the tracks. That's definitely a possibility. And the Tack views, so that definitely could have, but they wouldn't have been able to see the stream, because all these matches took place just over a month ago.
Yep.
Which can be confusing.
What are you thinking is going to happen?
I think historically what we've seen a lot happen. Let me get rid of the music here. I think historically what we've seen a lot happen, and I guess you guys weren't hearing music because I had it on the wrong output, is that the team that wins round 2, if they've lost round 1, historically has done much better going into round 3, in my opinion. It's the round 2 win is much harder to overcome for the losing team, in my opinion, than the round 1 loss. Or sorry, the round 2 loss is harder to overcome than the round 1 loss. I guess it's because if you don't win this one, it's over, and the only thing the other team has to, well, no, I guess it's just because if you don't win this one, it's over. But I guess I don't know what I'm talking about now. I don't know. Just ignore me.
Well, no, I kind of see what you're saying, because from a psychological perspective, the loss is fresher in the minds of ETF than it is in the minds of PTF, right? So PTF have just managed to demonstrate that they can come back from a loss and win a round convincingly, and it sort of diminishes in their own minds the first round loss, and they can bounce off that second round win. To maybe recover to what they're used to and fight as they train, as you speak, or as you say, I should say. But who knows what can happen, and nobody can predict what's going to happen, because ETF did actually win convincingly in the first round. But I definitely see what you're saying about the fact that because Phoenix did win the second round convincingly, that that's going to put them in a good mindset coming into this third round.
I guess what I meant. Sorry, I'm switching some camera angles here. I guess what I meant is that when you lose round one as the team that loses, it almost doesn't feel... You don't have that sense of heartbreak as winning one and then losing the next one. Because I guess you're not on that emotional roller coaster of being on the endorphin high of winning a round and then that huge bottoming out of losing the next one. So yeah. I think it's when you win the second one, it feels close. You're closer to victory than if you win the first one. There's no difference in how the round plays out, winning the first one versus second, whatever, if the rounds are set up the right way. But it feels different for some reason. And I guess it's because you're closer to that inclusive round three, and just going into round three, it has that sense of mystique or winner take all that maybe round two doesn't.
And it is fascinating, if you hark back to like sports psychology or military pilot training, because when you're going, I can speak from personal experience, when you're going through military pilot training and you have a bad sortie, the guys who do well are the guys that can compartmentalize that. They put it in a little shoebox, they put the lid on it, and they go, that's a separate thing, I'm now going to move on. And, that's just a necessary skill that you need to get through that phase of your life, because especially towards the end of pilot's course, the pressure is huge. You're organizing your family coming for your wings flight and all that sort of stuff, and you're thinking about graduation, but you've still got sorties that you need to fly to actually make it through. And you can drop the ball quite easily, and just having that skill up your sleeve to be able to put something into a shoebox and push it to one side and go, okay, that happened, I'm moving on, is important. I think that translates to SATAL for these guys as well, especially ETF in this position. They need to be able to put a lid on what just happened and get back to how they train and translate that to this fight.
How do you think, in speaking of that compartmentalizing stuff, how do you think Eclipse Task Force is going to come out on this? Do you think they're going to have what it takes to be able to push that round two loss behind them? Or do you think it's going to be riding the emotional high that Phoenix Task Force has that's going to carry Phoenix Task Force over Eclipse Task Force in this round three?
Well, my money's on Phoenix, but that's more maybe based on what I saw last week with Black Arrow. That was quite a decisive thing to witness. And if one guy on Phoenix can wipe out 5 jets and he gets the right opportunity, that's a pretty big ace up your sleeve. Now, the downside to that is if they decide to go for that play half-heartedly and they feed guys in one at a time, like we saw happen in the first round, and maybe all the stars don't align, and then all of a sudden you've lost 2 jets to that sort of tactic, then that really puts them in a bad position. So it is a real risk versus reward type thing, isn't it, for Phoenix? And the way I've seen them fly in the past, I would say that what they really need to do if they want to win this next round is actually fly how they flew in the second round. Because in the second round, there wasn't really any of that feeding one guy in at a time, was it? It was more about this net that just wrapped around ETF, and they just smacked them down as a team. And I think that's what they should be going for here. Play it safe, play it smart, and work together.
Yeah, that's a good point that they didn't take that one-off approach where they're sending singletons in on their own. We saw Black Arrow do that once, but I think he did that because he recognized that, hey, I have an advantage. I'm low. The guy's higher than me. I'm in really close. If he defends this and defends it incorrectly, he's going to eat this slammer. So I am glad. That was a good thing that a good point that you pointed out there. I think another thing that gives Phoenix Task Force the advantage is I think they're a bit more spread out than Eclipse Task Force is, but I think they're not so spread out that they're unable to support one another, but they're spread out enough that it makes the sorting for Eclipse Task Force a bit more difficult. It's a bit more difficult for ETF without the AWACS to be able to see where everybody for Phoenix Task Force is, and that's something, guys, that I cannot stress enough. They do not have AWACS. So in order to see everybody from the opposition, they all have to be illuminated. If they're not illuminated, you're not going to see them on your radar, PPLI, donations. You're just not going to see them. And that leads to another disadvantage that Eclipse Task Force has, is they're 2-2-2 for different types of aircraft. They're F-14, JF-17, and F-16. So the advantage of the PPLI that would exist behind having all NATO jets with F-18s and 16s disappears. But Phoenix Task Force, on the other hand, has that advantage because they have 4 Vipers that are all donating to that PPLI track. So I cannot overstate that at all, because I think it's a huge advantage for Phoenix Task Force that without AWACS, that PPLI stuff is huge.
Hang on, break. What's happened to Toxin down there in the south? He's just... he's out of it.
Where is he?
He's disappeared. No missile was on him.
Maybe he disconnected.
No, but he's flaring. Hang on a second.
I don't see him.
Yeah, no, that's because he's dead.
I think he disconnected or ran into the ground.
Because that was super strange. Because all of a sudden he's flaring as if he's defending against a missile, and on the TAC view, his jet actually just breaks up into pieces and he disappears.
Well, I think the TAC view... I don't know. He's dead, though. So now dead, Phoenix Task Force has 5 pilots remaining. So will they be able to overcome that? That just made this even more interesting, because now Phoenix Task Force is at a man disadvantage. So they won round 2. We're going into round 3, almost over bullseye, and they lose somebody to disconnect, which is a massive, demoralizing blow to your team. Having somebody disconnect, in my opinion, is even worse than having them hit by a missile.
Yeah.
Because you get that thing in the back of your mind where, are we going to lose somebody else to a disconnect? Like, is he not going to be the only one? And it just, it spirals out of control. So I'm really worried now for Phoenix Task Force. Are they going to be able to overcome that?
But we have seen teams in the past have a guy completely out of position. And like, I'm thinking back to the Mirage a couple of rounds back. I can't remember his name now, and he was well out of position, remember, for basically the entire fight.
Yeah.
And his team ended up coming out on top, irrespective of the fact that he didn't even really contribute anything to that right up until the last second. So, I wouldn't say I'm completely disheartened for Phoenix Task Force at this point, but they do actually need to think carefully about how to proceed here.
Yes. Most definitely, they need to try and figure out what their next steps are, because if they lose another pilot, it's going to be so difficult for them to come up against the remaining pilots for Eclipse Task Force, because then it's not going to be... Who just died there? Sheik just died. He disappeared.
Yeah, that's not good.
That's not good either.
Disconnection. Now we're down to a 4v6.
Now we're down to a 4. That's bizarre. He did get this Mark 60 off. So I'm interested to see if it's going to do anything. Let's grab it and see if it's going to do anything here. It's ingressing onto, I think it's Breeze and Riker. Yeah, it's coming in on Breeze and Riker. So now we're down to a 4v6.
Oh, man.
Man, that's got to be horrible.
But if they can pull this out of the bag, what a story to tell.
Well, this makes if Eclipse Task Force suffers a casualty while being 2 men up, it is going to, in my opinion, send them into a death spiral that will be nigh unrecoverable. Because if it's that the psychosis, what it does to your mental state, getting killed or losing a teammate by somebody that you think you are totally overpowering is hugely demoralizing and is almost impossible to come back from.
Yeah.
So you think they're going to be able to do it?
Side, you got Task Force still with 4 Vipers, right? So all still donating to PPI.
No. They have 3. They have 3, and then Black Arrow's in an F-15.
Okay, good. Yeah, sorry, Black Arrow's in the 15. Got you. Yeah.
But having those 3, in comparison to having a hodgepodge, having 3 contributors to PPLI, the PPLI net is definitely beneficial.
Now, as you say, Malta, the question is, do ETF realize that Phoenix are down 2 jets at this point?
Maybe. You do see it in the player listing. So you do see the disconnects in SATAL. You do get the kill messages. Do they realize it, I guess, is a good point. Have they noticed it? So 120, look at this 4 ship now coming against Predator. We saw this from Predator in the early rounds. He has a tendency to single himself out. Is he going to be singling himself out too much? Here's a 120 launch from him. It was launched from decently fast, pretty high, 30,000 feet. Now coming in on Kingston, and Kingston really isn't doing anything to get away from this. He's high, over 20,000 feet, now defending in full blower. I don't think he gets away from this low blow. This is going to be huge, a huge morale boost for Phoenix Task Force. They actually get the first actual kill here going into round 3, and that goes to Predator. I think Predator recognized, hey, I've got a bit of an advantage. I'm going to put a shot out here from high altitude onto somebody else's high, and if they don't defend immediately, they're going to get taken out, and that's exactly what we saw.
Falcon has a pretty angry 60 coming in, which just whizzes past him. Okay, so Falcon,
I think you're a little. Well, it's actually on Ali. I think it's on Ali.
No.
What happened there?
Check attack view later, but Josh Willis launched a Mark 60 against Falcon, which Falcon has just managed to dodge, and that would have been massive if
there was one that went through Black Arrow and Ali, and it flew through both their cockpits.
Yeah. Okay. But the other thing that's worth mentioning, that Tomcat that just got taken out by Phoenix, he still had a Phoenix on board as well.
That is true.
So great job getting that Phoenix out of the game.
So now we've got multiple 120s coming in against Breeze and Riker. Where are they? They're defending. I think they're going to be able to out-energy these okay. So let's ride along with him, make sure that nothing's going to hit.
Predator's got an SD-10 on him.
Oh, no! Breeze actually got taken down, and Predator got hit at the same time. So up to the north, we're going to have to revisit this in Tack view because things are happening all over the map. So Breeze got hit by a 120. I've been totally discounting these 120s as they come in, but low blow, we're down to a 3v3.
Absolutely, yeah. Predator just.
I gotta bring the music on. We gotta bring the music on for this. So Falcon now has 3 ETF combatants coming in on him in a 3v1 situation.
Problem is, Ali is so far out of play right now. He really needs to bump it up and get in there. He is not in a position to support his team. And Black Arrow and Falcon are quite deep here. Especially Falcon. He's basically in a 2v1 up there in the north. Unless Black Arrow turns right and commits on Josh Willis here, which it looks like he's doing. Can he find him? Okay, he loses. So Black Arrow has just fired a 120 off at Aspen. And he's totally sorted on Aspen right now. I don't think he sees Josh Willis coming in, but Josh Willis has a 120C coming in at him from Ali, but Aspen's returned a 120C. Let's have a look at that one. That slammer coming in at 16 miles from Ali, maybe just as a deterrence factor, and Aspen now defensive to the north. So, Josh Willis
he crashed.
Actually C-fitted.
He crashed. I think he blacked out. And ate that one. So there have been numerous crashes and blackouts in this one, or desyncs, or I don't know what's happening. But now Black Arrow's chasing down Aspen, which we're going to see here. So I know it seems like we're missing a bunch of stuff, guys, but people are just disconnecting and crashing into the ground. And unfortunately, I'm not able to keep track of everything. But now we've got Aspen being run down by Black Arrow, and here comes a 120. It's half mile away. I think it's going to be able to keep the energy up 0.2 miles, and Aspen gets taken down. So now we're down to a 2v1. 2v3. Super is the only one remaining.
Super as well. So Black Arrow defending hard now, but Super is in a 1v3 here.
I think Black Arrow is going to be okay. Yeah, he line of sighted that missile. So Black Arrow is able to get away from that one, okay. And Super, like you just said, is the only guy remaining. And Black Arrow is actually wasting no time and is turned back into Super. Super sees him, 120 coming off. They're exchanging. Aim 9s off from Black Arrow, connects with Super. It's Super, I saw
Black
Super
Arrow.
get hit, but Black Arrow's dead, but it's Super dead.
Super's fine. Super is fine, but he's going to have a slammer on him fairly soon here from Falcon at 5 miles. Ali, it looks like Ali doesn't really have any SA. Ali's still out cold. So at the moment, if Super can capitalize on this, he has a 1v1. He's still carrying...
He's got 3 slammers and 2 aim 9s, so he's got the weapons.
Man, he needs to turn in. He needs to neutralize Falcon, get this to a 1v1, and maybe he has a chance. But if he delays here, he's going to very soon have a 2v1 situation, and I fear that might be too much for him to overcome.
Well, and what's Ali's altitude here? Ali is climbing. I love this. Ali is climbing. He's in full blower. He's got 2 aim 9s left. He's putting himself in a position for when he catches up to Super, that he's going to be in a hugely advantageous position to capitalize on his energy and altitude state. If Super stays low, which it looks like he's going to do, he's going to get eaten alive by Ali, who's now passing 20,000 feet and still accelerating.
And I want to say, Moltar, I think Super's missed the window of opportunity here.
Yep. He needed to be hugely aggressive, capitalize on the fact that both of his opponents were low, and get that sneak attack opportunity, whereas now Ali knows exactly where he's at. He has a massive altitude advantage, a massive energy advantage, and Super's just, he's counting the seconds, if you will, till his own death.
Such a shame. Such a shame. If he'd been able to maybe just pick him up in vertical scan or something and eliminate Falcon, this could have been an entirely different story here. But Super is in a world of hurt right now.
Well, now he's getting a missile warning coming in from Ali. I don't dislike that shot coming from Ali. It's forcing Super on the defensive. Where's that missile? 3 miles away. It's going to have decent smash when it reaches its target. Super's not doing a fantastic job. He's doing it now about out-energing that missile, but he really needs to be more aggressive. But what that missile's doing when it's forcing Super to defend is you can see how much room Ali is covering, how much distance Ali is covering as Super's having to defend. So Ali previously, when he launched that missile, was about 10 miles away. Now he's 4.5. The next missile that Ali launches, which is the last one, is I think going to be the killing shot. It's going to be the killing blow that catapults Phoenix Task Force into winning this matchup, 2-1.
There you
Here
go.
it comes,
There's that smile.
and he
Mark
doesn't get
3.
away from it. Yep.
Absolutely trash.
So great closing out of that round by Phoenix Task Force, especially by Ali, getting that altitude back, getting that airspeed back, getting above Super, and cashing it all in, and taking Super out to solidify the victory for them here in round 3. And as long as they're able to get it back, they win the match.
I have to say, big brain play by Falcon as well to not press on Super when he did. Because if he had pressed, he very well could have been eliminated, and then that would have left Ali in a 1v1 against Super at close range, and we know how dangerous the Hornet is within 5 miles.
Yeah.
So, really good play by Falcon, I think, to just decommit from that and reset. And as you saw, at that point, the tables totally shifted.
Yep. Yeah, excellent point there that if Falcon would have committed there, he had no situational awareness. He doesn't have AWACS. Ali wasn't contributing to the PPLI picture because I doubt he saw where Super was. So Falcon recognized that, hey, I don't have a picture on this. I'm pretty sure there's a guy over here. I just need to run away, reconnect with my wingman, and then recommit as a 2-ship, or get behind Ali because Ali is further away. He's going to have a better picture as he ingresses onto the fight. And I'm really happy that Falcon was able to recognize that, and not only recognize it, but to actually put it into practice instead of just flying by the seat of the pants and committing into a fight that he didn't have a full situational awareness of. So well done by them.
Smart flying from Phoenix, So we have seen, as this competition in this division progresses, we are seeing that Phoenix, even though they're sitting at third place in the division, are flying smart, and they're multifaceted in the way that they can approach their fights. We've seen situations last week where they're happy to send one bull into the china shop and just wreck face with Black Arrow. And that's got a psychological deterrence factor all in and of itself. And then we saw in the second round today where they were able to just play it conservative, work as a team, wrap the net around ETF there, and just crush them slowly. And then we've seen a situation here where two guys have been able to look at the situation and come up with an intelligent solution rather than just getting a rush of blood to the head and pressing in as singletons. And I think as this division progresses, Phoenix Task Force, we have to keep an eye out for them. They're one to watch.
Yeah, they've been progressively getting better. This has been their first year in SATAL, and it's been really nice to see them progress in the way that they have. I mean, the first matches, it was a little like, okay, these guys are new, but now, they're demonstrating some characteristics that we usually see out of the veteran teams, and their pilots are starting to make decisions of those pilots that are veterans to the competitive stage. So, like what we talked about just previously with Falcon, it really takes flight experience in a competitive realm or in situation like this, not necessarily competitively, I guess, but to recognize, hey, I don't have all the picture, and to say it's okay to run away, which is exactly what happened. He didn't want to commit into a fight that he didn't have all the answers to. He wasn't in the driver's seat, so he ran away. Instead of that being a 1v1 situation, it turned into a 2v1 situation, or eventually when Ali got the kill, it was kind of a 1v1, but Ali had all of the chips on his side, and he was able to cash them all in and take Super out. So well done by them. And Ali was able to land first and solidifies that at 2-1 victory for Phoenix Task Force over Eclipse Task Force. And I think that brings us to the end of this, ladies and gentlemen. We're going to jump into the TAC view, but these are going to be two separate videos. So for anybody that has no interest in the TAC view, and as we watch Ali wobble and tip his jet over, anybody that has no interest in TAC view, this is where we part ways. It's been a pleasure. Excellent rounds coming from Eclipse Task Force and Phoenix Task Force. Phoenix Task Force edging out Eclipse Task Force in a best of 3, 2-1. So if you guys are wanting to join us next time, I think the next round, if I'm not mistaken, I got to flip back up here and grab it. Who flies next? It's another Diamond League match, and it is going to be 36 Storma, who we saw on Saturday, taking on Golden Crown. So lots of Diamond League taking place over the past few days. So if you guys have no interest in TAC view, this is where we part. We're going to be taking a moment, taking a break. I'm going to take a 5-minute breather, and then we are going to be moving into the TAC view here momentarily. But if you guys are leaving, stay safe in those virtual skies, and we'll see you later. But for anybody that wants to hang out with us and dissect this a little bit further, they're not going to be overly huge, overly long, but we're going to be moving there. So stick with us 5 minutes or so. We're going to take a little bit of a break, and we will be back with the TAC view of these best of 3 Eclipse Task Force coming up short against Phoenix Task Force. See you guys back here in just a minute. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. We are back with the TAC view debrief. Low blows here. We're not using the cameras very much today because Billy's not here, and I screwed something up because what would it say? Tell stream without Moltar screwing something up. But I screwed something up. Not the scenes that are overlaid with one another aren't working correctly, so I just We're not doing very many cameras today. So, but we are here in the Tack View debrief. I'm anxious to see how this all went down, especially for the stuff that we missed in round 2. I don't know how this is going to go, but we are going to see. I'm going to try and keep this as centered as possible here. Resize this. There we go, so I can see them both. But Bill or Loblo, let's start with you. What happened? What were some pivotal moments here in round 1? The first casualties, we kind of went back and forth. Alpha Whiskey died first in round 1, and then followed by Black Arrow in round 1 as well. So it was kind of a back and forth to get things started, and I think those casualties happened right around here. But who had the advantage, you think, going into this? What are your thoughts?
I think it was going to be a slugfest. This first one, until these teams could really feel each other out, which as we saw, that's what ended up happening as the round progressed across rounds 2 and 3. But in this first one, I was always expecting it to be a bit of a slugfest based on where they were both sitting in the division. But I think my feeling with the first one was that as things progressed, ETF just ended up with a numbers advantage, and they capitalized on that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and this is the first casualty that ends up taking place, and you can see that it's a capitalization on an altitude and opportunity advantage where Black Arrow is at a significantly higher altitude state and a significantly higher energy state at Mach 1.3, 1.2, almost 40,000 feet, and just catches Alpha Whiskey unawares. And if we look over here at what his teammates doing, it's quite possible that nobody has their radar gimbals up high enough to even see him. I mean, these guys are so low, and this is one of the detriments, you called it earlier in round 1, to being low in these situations, is you lose your situational awareness. And if you're so stacked close together, I think the distance between these two guys is 9 miles. If you're this close together, you'd rather have somebody high and back here. You're losing the picture because radar, you think of it as a cone emitter from the front of your aircraft, and it gets bigger the further out it goes, and it's able to see more things. So if you're close to the people in front of you, you can only see so much around them. So I would have liked to see Eclipse Task Force in this situation being at least one guy further back and higher that's able to contribute to a picture that would have hopefully seen Black Arrow. That's a big reason do I see Black Arrow getting taken down. I saw AB32 ask a question. What if someone lands in a way that his aircraft is unflyable or damaged badly? AB32, as long as the guy doesn't die and doesn't eject, it's okay. As long as your guy doesn't die and you don't eject, that would be an acceptable landing as long as you land on the runway.
Now, do you think Alpha Whiskey just basically got too deep there without a real plan? Or?
I think his biggest crutch or qualm was that he doesn't have a lot of experience that I know of in the F-14. So I think a big part of that was he just didn't have the experience. His Rio maybe didn't either, to be able to have the scan volume that was needed to be able to see Black Arrow. And the other thing, maybe they weren't paying attention to their RWR. But if we back up here, Black Arrow has a tendency to just commit and not turn around. He's at Mach 1.45 now. But at this point, Eclipse Task Force has recognized, hey, we just lost Alpha Whiskey. Somebody is here close. And they found Black Arrow as he descended from 40,000 feet down to the plebeian altitude of 20,000 feet. And the SD-10s are able to run him down even with his ECMDC.
Yeah.
So going on here, I don't think anything happens here for a few minutes. Let's see. Back up. Team lines are pretty well drawn. We're down to 5 minute piece. Still some long 120 shots. Ali gets taken down here by an ST-10. And this is just, he defends into the missile. And I don't think he defends aggressively enough. He's like defending into this notch. I don't know why he's doing that. He's too fast to notch effectively. He's over Mach 1. Just turn around. Like, just keep going. Just instead of doing this nice, slow descent turn, just aggressively turn away and you'll out-energy that missile. Don't do this. That's why he died, in my opinion.
Worth pointing out, Malta, I feel like Phoenix Task Force up in the north with the numbers advantage could have pressed and been a bit more assertive in the north there,
Yeah.
Surely Black Arrow could have relayed the fact that and I'm not. This isn't a criticism, but if he had relayed the fact that that most of the ETF guys were down south, that they could have realized, hang on a second, we've got a 3v2 up north here. Let's press that.
Right. And you could probably instead of relying on Black Arrow to give you that information, just get your 3-ship to illuminate and see how many guys you got out here, because this isn't overly mountainous area. I mean, it's a little bit of foothill area here. I guess it kind of is mountainous in this general vicinity, but it's not horrific. And Aspen and Jonas are over the flatlands, so the odds that they're the only two up there, if you illuminate them, is pretty high. So you should look and capitalize on those situations if you do see them. But back to Ali's issue here, he just gets in too close. He's too high against a medium altitude bandit. Not too high, but he gets in too close given his altitude, and he's not able to effectively defend this. He may have been able to get away from it if he defended more aggressively, but you can see how well that missile, the SD-10, is able to maintain energy when launched from a medium to high altitude. It maintains its energy state a bit better than the AMRAAM, and he just doesn't aggressively defend enough to be able to get away from that. He should have started to defend here now at like 8 miles instead of waiting for the missile launch warning.
You asked me earlier what did I think that the pivotal moment was in this first round, and this would have to be it. Black Arrow and Ali feeding themselves in one at a time against superior numbers.
Yeah.
I think that really did swing it for ETF there.
Yeah. And that was, we talked about this a couple times in the actual match stream, was that Phoenix Task Force seemed like they were just one-offing themselves. They weren't committing as a team here in round one. They were just committing as singletons. So they were flying more as singletons than flying as a 6-ship. And you can see what that ends up doing. It ends up resulting in early casualties for your team, especially if the other team flies as a unit. If the other team is able to fly in a way that they're able to maximize and capitalize on their numbers and commit into engagements together, the singletons are going to lose every time.
Yeah.
Here's Jonas eating a 54. This is pretty basic. He just doesn't notch it. He's Mach 1. You're not going to notch a missile there. It's notch discipline here, guys. You got to, if you get a missile launch warning, notch it. Don't half-ass it. Notch it. That's all you can do. So
but, credit to Aspen and Jonas up there in the north as well. Just tying up basically 4 jets to allow that situation that happened down south there against Black Arrow and Ali to unfold. And we've got Eclipse Task Force in chat here, but it is always good to see when teams can actually just stave off superior numbers with conservative play and tie up. In this instance, what is more than half of the Phoenix Task Force team, and hey, if Phoenix Task Force are going to sit back there with 4 jets and not actually press those 2 jets, all the power to ETF right there, because, it wasn't like they were being silly about it and saying, okay, let's press into 4 jets here with our 2 jets. They were just sitting back and letting it, just being patient and letting those 4 jets get tied up,
Yep. And this is another perfect example of Phoenix Task Force committing as one-offs, as singletons. They're in here at 8 miles. Sheik is totally isolated in against a 2-ship. It doesn't even take the 2-ship. It's just Riker launching an SD-10. Sheik doesn't even defend and flies headlong into that missile. And I think that is a perfect example of how this entire round went for Phoenix Task Force. It was just one-offs, flying straight into things that they probably shouldn't have, not defending aggressively. And that was the perfect showcase of that. So Kingston, does he commit? Yeah, he finds Toxin here now. Puts an aim. This was the time where we thought the AIM 54 was going to track. And you can see this is a pretty good example that the AIM 54 just doesn't have the juice to be able to turn with him. It's expending so much energy. It's actually expending it faster than it can make it. It never made it to Mach 2. And I think it actually got notched there at some point. But he's able to get away from that. Kingston eats this 120. He gets taken down. So now we're down to a 2v2. So Phoenix Task Force does decent here late in equalizing it. But again, they're coming in here as not making great decisions. I mean, right here is another perfect example of this. You got to recognize that this missile is launched from under 10 miles. It's about a 7-mile launch. You don't have the energy to be able to outrun this. You got to commit. You got to commit to some type of defensive strategy, and it seems like Falcon just doesn't commit to anything until he's within spitting distance of that missile, and it reaches out and touches him in the wrong way. So now we're down to a 2v1 against Toxin, and we know how this ended up in the streaming match. Toxin gets taken out by Aspen in this situation. He commits, doesn't launch anything, gives Aspen the launching perimeters he needs, and Aspen finds himself on the receiving end of an AMRAAM.
Well, I think however you want to characterize it, rush of blood to the head or, lack of concentration, it just seemed 3 guys on the Phoenix Task Force team suffered from that early on. We had Black Arrow and Ali overcommit themselves, and then we had the guy in the Tomcat, I can't remember who that was, who just ate that SD-10 straight to the face without even defending against it.
Right.
Stuff like that. I mean, if you lose 3 of your guys in that manner, it's going to be pivotal. As you say, Phoenix did very well to equalize it to a 2v2 towards the end there, but just I guess we're pointing the wrong way at the wrong time at that point.
Well, now we see kind of an opposite effect of what happened in round 1, now impacting Eclipse Task Force. Alpha Whiskey's now isolated more or less by himself. He's not with the wingman. He's up here alone by 7 miles, which may not seem like very far, but to be able to support somebody, especially if they get into a merge or, if they're engaged by a 2-ship, the closer you get, the more isolated he's going to feel, even when you're decently close. So he's now isolated by 8 miles. And this is the isolation we saw Phoenix Task Force encountering in round 1 is now impacting Eclipse Task Force in a negative way. And Alpha Whiskey now gets in too deep against Black Arrow. Black Arrow's over Mach 1, 16,000 feet. Alpha Whiskey defends it a bit too late, and that AMRAAM's going to have more than enough energy to be able to reach out and grab him before he's able to get away from it. And that, again, is you got to recognize the ways that you need to defend that. So if he's within 6 miles and you're at medium altitude, you got to get low and immediately go into a notch instead of trying to defend it in that manner. I mean, maybe if you do take that defensive approach, you've got to be serpentining while descending, right? You've got to be, you can't just do one thing when the missile's in that close if you're going to try and out energy. If you're going to try and out energy it and it's under 7 miles, you got to be not just trying to run away from it, but turning and forcing the missile to turn while it's in pure pursuit. And Alpha Whiskey, I think, getting taken out here early as a singleton is a critical indicator at how the rest of this round is going to go.
Well, I think this was the flavor of this match was definitely PTF wrapping the net around ETF.
Yeah.
And, it was like one of those, I said it earlier during the actual match itself, what it reminded me of was those nature documentaries where you've got the school of fish and a ball in the center and the predators just lurking around the outside. And you'll be able to see as this match unfolds how ETF just get tangled up in the middle of all of that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that's really easy to see here in the positioning of the two squadrons. You can see how much more spread out Phoenix Task Force is, but they're not committing into an engagement unless they recognize that they have an advantage. Like right here with Black Arrow against Kingston. He's recognizing this guy is not facing me. I can commit on him. And then Kingston is just getting gangbanged by 3 AMRAAMs from 3 different directions, and he's dead. He maybe doesn't recognize it yet, but he doesn't get away from this. He doesn't turn the way he needs to fast enough and kind of does this interesting oblique turn to get away, and it just allows the 120 launch from Black Arrow to meander around, not bleed or expend enough energy, and it's just at the very last moment able to catch him and take Kingston out. We're now down to a 6v3 instead of a 6v4. And Black Arrow, I think at this point, just carries on. But here, Black Arrow doesn't have the altitude needed to gain the situational awareness, and he's in the F-15, so he doesn't have the PPLI picture that the F-16s from Predator and Falcon may be able to give him. So he's coming in against a T-ship, but I don't think he's recognized quite where they are. He may have not have been in vertical scan, which I think would have picked up Riker, and Riker, meanwhile, is able to pick Black Arrow up relatively easily, launches an SD-10, and Black Arrow, I think, waits to try and get the AMRAAM off of his own onto Riker, but isn't able to, and ends up eating that. In that situation, guys, when you recognize that maybe I'm in too deep. Unleash a Mad Dog. See if that's able to get something.
Yeah.
If you're instead of trying to get him in radar, that's just you're flirting with death at that point.
Yeah. I had to say though, Malta, we talked about Black Arrow a lot today based on what we saw in the last match, but I really didn't see the same Black Arrow show up today.
No, I didn't either. And I think that's because Eclipse Task Force did a better job of reacting to the incoming fast threat instead of allowing him to carry through. I think they just did a better job of reacting to casualties and then capitalizing on an open kill instead of letting them fly through their formations. But now we've got Breeze in a pretty bad position. Breeze gets launched on from about 10 miles, but Predator's in a much better launching position. You can see him at 21,000 feet, Mach 1.2. We can easily see what this does to the missile if we compare it to Falcon, who's actually closer, but he's lower and slower. And you'll be able to see how the missile from Predator catches the missile from Falcon and actually overtakes it.
Yeah.
And it's actually almost a full Mach faster than the missile launched from Falcon. And that's what the benefit of altitude and airspeed from the launching platform. That's what you're imparting on your missile. It's like giving your kids an edge in school. You're giving your missile an edge in taking out your opponent by imparting those characteristics on it from your launch. And that, if he didn't have that, it wouldn't have been able to take Breeze out. And Breeze, unfortunately, gets caught by this missile. So this missile is now, what is it? I can't see it under there. Half a mile past Falcon's missile, and it still has over half a Mach of energy greater than Falcon's missile. And Predator's was launched earlier than Falcon. So Falcon launched at a closer distance to the Bandit, which is...
Well, worth pointing out is, and we've spoken about how the Tomcat can influence these matches, and, being low does help you with notching against the Tomcat. But, at the point where the Tomcat on one team has been eliminated, then, the always be climbing mantra comes back into play, doesn't it? And there's no reason really for you to be down in the weeds. Right. You may as well get back up to 25,000 and neutralize that and have your missiles get fast as well.
But don't look at this if it's a Tomcat present. It's all about what the enemy aircraft are doing. Are they hot on you? Well, then you need to start making changes on your altitude and energy state to be able to get yourself into a defending position to be able to defend more easily. If they're cold to you, obviously try to be climbing and getting that altitude back that you can then convert and cash in when you need it. So just because there's not a Tomcat, I would probably fly this the same way if there was a Tomcat, but it's just constantly being aware of the aspect of your opponent to you. If your Tomcat's away from you, you can be climbing on you, but it's not just the Tomcat, it's any aircraft. If they're away from you and they're not looking at you, be climbing. If they're off aspect and flanking across from you, you can conserve your altitude a bit more. If they're hot to you, you probably want to be diving, and as they close in against you, you probably want to be getting closer to the ground. So these are all the things that you need to be aware of and constantly changing. They're variables that are in constant flux. They never want to be in a constant state just because a certain aircraft is present. You want to be constantly changing them based on what your sensors are telling you and what your instincts are telling you that you should be doing. So now we're down to a 2v5 actually. Riker just got launched on by a 120 from Predator. It didn't end up tracking, but Predator doesn't over-pursue stays welcome or over-pursue. He turns around, uses that speed to outrun Riker, and then recommits once he recognizes that the path is safe. And I have to assume that this is because Ali maybe said that you have nobody hot, recommit. Both of them are cold if he saw them on his sensors, because he is at 19,000 feet. I gotta say, Ali, if you're listening, you did a great job at managing your altitude from what I've seen throughout this entire match. You've been in great positions throughout this entire thing. You're recognizing early enough and cashing your energy in early enough that you're able to get away from most of these threats. Yeah, this was the awesome defensive maneuver that we saw in the match that Ali pulled off, and he was able to out-energy the missile. I mean, you can see that missile's already down to Mach 1.5 and it just can't stay with him through this turn. It just can't commit, and when it breaks off, it doesn't have the line of sight, and I think it actually picks up Predator at that point.
And he's still only down at 10,000 feet as well.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. So, and I think this is Predator's missile that takes out Riker from 20,000 feet, Mach 1.1. Again, altitude getting imparted on the missile. Does really well. It's able to chase Riker down. And now we're just down to the singleton of Aspen and his F-16. And he actually is able to take down Toxin, who just flies headlong into this 120. Maybe his RWR or something was off or something in those states. But Aspen eats a missile. Should have died there, but gets run down by Ali and Falcon anyway. And Predator actually, I think, gets the killing shot here.
Right. But this is the Phoenix Task Force that we're talking about,
Yeah.
you know, in the sense that they can have that first round loss and then just bounce back so convincingly in the second round as if it never even happened.
Yep.
And I think that's going to put them in really good stead moving forward.
Yep. So now we're moving on to round 3. This one was a little bit more of a back and forth. Phoenix Task Force had 2 early disconnects, which I thought spelled the end for them. I thought they were done for, but they ended up being able to bounce back and come at it from a 4v6 or a 6v4 and come out on top. So they did really well, making up for their loss of guys. And I think the changing moment was right here when Kingston went down, when you lose a guy and you're 2 pilots up at that point, and then you lose somebody, to an opponent that is outmanned and outgunned, is hugely impactful on the morale state of your team.
Yeah.
And this is, from this point on, it's just a downhill spiral for Eclipse Task Force. And I think that early kill, first missile kill actually from this round, just sent them there.
Well, hats off to Phoenix Task Force for maintaining their composure in this situation, and not just assuming the worst. You know, they're 2 guys down, but you know, I'm not sure what their mentality was or what conversation was had, because presumably, you know, the 2 guys in chat have said, "Hey, we're out of the match," but you know, they didn't just automatically assume that ETF had picked up on that situation. You know,
well, the other pivotal moment I think happened down here. Yes, Predator died to this SD-10, but I got to give credit to Black Arrow where it's due, because Black Arrow is hugely aggressive, and we've talked about him a lot, but I got to highlight this situation because he doesn't turn around when he doesn't need to. He recognizes that nobody is looking at him. I'm just going to carry on. Josh Willis breaks off. Josh Willis could have possibly had an easy kill on Black Arrow, but he breaks off, and then it allows Black Arrow to run down Riker and hit him with AMRAAMs. And
yeah, but look at the altitude differences as well. You've got Phoenix all up high. You know, you've still got ETF just all sub 10,000 feet here.
And now we're down to a 3v3, and Phoenix Task Force is just in a much better position. They're all around Eclipse Task Force, and Eclipse Task Force is forced to defend. And in these situations, in close-in proximity fights, it's the team that has the better altitude management and the team that is able to defeat their threat and recommit the fastest that is usually going to be the ones that come out on top. And you can see that exactly here. Eclipse Task Force defends early. They don't recommit. Phoenix Task Force, meanwhile, stays hot, and you can see what that ends up doing, right? Josh Willis ends up crashing into the ground. I'm going to assume he was still in blower when he did a split S, wasn't able to come out of it, may have blacked out. He's at 11 Gs, so I'm guessing he blacked out there. He goes down, and then Aspen is running away from Black Arrow, and he just gets run down. It's really difficult to recommit, ladies and gentlemen, on somebody when they're in this position. When this guy's this close, like in Black Arrow's position from 4 miles, you're not going to recommit into that, especially if he has AMRAAMs left. By the time you get into the notch, he's going to be right on top of you, and your notch isn't going to matter. Unfortunately, Black Arrow dies, but at that point, it just catapults this into a 2v1 situation, which is...
And this is another pivotal moment coming up here. Super had a very narrow window of opportunity to turn this into a 1v1. And Falcon, I think, realizes... I mean, he turns back in here and then he turns cold. And this turning cold, if he decided to press here, could have gone either way. But, you know, the point is that Ali really isn't in a situation to immediately help Falcon. And then Falcon decommits. And I think that decision to decommit was a very wise one, because then what it did was it completely neutralized any offensive prospects from Super to turn the fight into a 1v1, and then they were just up a 2v1, and that Hornet was never going to run away from 2 Vipers.
Right. But on the opposite side of that, Super needed to recognize in this situation that I can't turn around. I just need to carry on and continue the press, because if I go defensive, what it does is allows my adversaries to then go on the offensive, get their altitude back, and you've just given up all of your advantage, which is exactly what we're seeing here. Super goes on the defensive, and then from this point on, he can't recommit and turn it around. He's never able to do that, and just gets run down by Ali, which is exactly what we're going to see happen here as we fast forward.
But winding it back, if you wind back like 30 seconds, not that I'm asking you to, but there was a very narrow window of opportunity for Super to actually press on Falcon.
Right here on the when he breaks away, if he would have stayed hot, right?
Exactly.
Falcon would have died.
Exactly. And then it would have been a 1v1, and it could have gone very differently. But just turning out cold there made it really hard.
I can't say Falcon would have died, but those are the opportunities. That was the 50-50 opportunity that Super needed. This isn't a 50-50 opportunity. This is like a 90-10 opportunity or a 99-1 opportunity for Super. He's on the low end of that, by the way. If you're the last man standing, as Bullet points out, you've got to attack. If you just try and run away, you can run away if high mountains are really close and you can disappear. But in this situation, when you're against Vipers and the high terrain is this far away, you're not going to get away from these Vipers. They're going to run you down. And that's what happens. Ali's able to track him down. High altitude, Mach 1.4, and he just gets outrun. It's the pack of dogs chasing the fox. And the fox gets overtaken and taken out eventually, and that's what we see. So, guys, that's going to be it. That brings us to the end. Low Blow, do you have anything coming up this weekend? Or is this a week off for you?
We're going to run a 1v1 BFM tournament on Sunday, and then the winner of that gets right of first refusal to be Pilot X number 2, which will be the following Sunday. And then I think after that, we're just going to run Pilot X once a month, because it's a lot of work.
It is.
So we'll pair it back after that.
Yeah. I mean, maybe do the BFM tournament once a month and just do them like bi-weekly, opposite. I don't know. We'll have to talk about that. But guys, Pilot X was awesome. The BFM tournaments have been awesome. So make sure you turn into Low Blow's channel. We haven't moved him over to DCS World Events yet because the website it's not fully done yet. So we're waiting until that's done, or till workflow's changed. But if you haven't checked out the BFM stuff already, make sure you do that. Next fight is going to be 36 Stormo Virtuale taking on Golden Crown, and that is going to be taking place Thursday at 1500 Zulu. So make sure you tune in for that if you haven't already. But that's all we got, ladies and gentlemen. Until next time, stay safe in those virtual skies, and we will see you guys later. Have a good one.